There were 3 glasses of wine on the table. Only 2 of them were being touched. The third one, mine, sat perfectly full, untouched, sweating softly like it didn't belong. Just like me. She hadn't looked in my direction in 28 minutes. I know, because I had nothing else to focus on but counting. Her laugh? Too loud. Her smile? Aimed too precisely. And the guy in the charcoal suit? He had his hand on her lower back like it had always belonged there. They were standing close. Too close. That kind of closeness that's already cheated, whether clothes have come off or not. She invited me. Told me she wanted me to see what her world looked like. What she really meant was, watch me sparkle while you sit there like a coat someone forgot to hang up. Every time someone walked past me, they glanced like I might be staff. I was dressed nice, nothing flashy, but when you sit alone with a full glass and a blank face, people assume you're either a problem or a mistake. I checked my phone. Not for messages, just for something to do. She hadn't texted. Not since we arrived. Then I looked up and caught it. His hand, her shoulder, her whisper, their smile. Like a synchronized betrayal. A dance I was never invited to. I stood up. Not dramatically. Not with a scene. Just quietly. I left my full glass on the table. Left my jacket on the back of the chair. Walked through the hallway of that rented rooftop ballroom like a ghost that no one noticed leaving. Not one person followed. Not one person stopped me. Outside, it was raining. Not the dramatic kind. Just enough to make the sidewalk glisten and your collar stick to your neck. I walked 3 blocks before my phone buzzed. One new message. From her. Just one word. Come. No punctuation. No apology. Just that one command. Like I was a stray pet. Like I was hers. But the thing is, she never saw me check her smartwatch earlier that night. Never saw the name that lit up during dinner. Didn't realize I knew. And she definitely didn't expect what I'd leave for her the next morning. I didn't respond. Not to the text. Not to the vibration that followed. Not to the call 2 minutes later when her name filled my screen, glowing like it meant something. I just stared at the word come like it was a joke. Like it was bait dangling from a hook I used to bite without thinking. But not this time. I made it home before midnight. The place felt colder than usual, even though the heat was on. Her coat was still on the hook by the door, like she hadn't planned to stay out all night. That was the only piece of her left in the apartment that still felt familiar. Everything else, the couch, the kitchen lights, the faint scent of her perfume hanging in the hallway, felt like a set from a show I'd been cut out of halfway through the season. I sat down on the couch, stared at the blank TV, and then remembered her smartwatch. Earlier that evening, she took it off and handed it to me at the party because it kept buzzing too much. I thought nothing of it then. But now, I couldn't stop thinking about it. I went to the bedroom, grabbed the watch off the dresser, and sat with it like it might explode. When I tapped the screen, it lit up with a message history that wasn't meant for me. She hadn't locked it. Or maybe she just forgot, assuming I'd never bother looking. It started innocent, messages from a Brett tumbler glass about work. Jokes about office politics. Harmless memes. Then it shifted. The messages turned into little flirty jabs. Then into compliments. Then the kind of inside jokes that don't need to be said out loud to be understood. And finally, photos. One of her dress. One of his tie. And one of them together, taken in the reflection of the elevator mirror. From before the party. From earlier that evening. I felt my stomach twist in slow motion. The way his hand gripped her waist in that reflection didn't look new. It looked practiced, like it had happened before. Suddenly, her text made perfect sense. Come. She thought I didn't notice. She thought I'd just left because I was sulking. She didn't know I'd seen everything. I didn't text back. Instead, I picked up a pen. Not because I had a plan, but because I had something to say, and I wasn't going to waste it on a text. I wrote 3 sentences. Folded the note. Slid it into the kitchen drawer she always used. Then I unplugged my phone, packed a single bag, and walked out the door. I didn't know where I was going. I just knew I couldn't let her see me break, not again. And the next morning, when she walked in thinking I'd be curled up waiting, she found the apartment silent. Her coat still hanging, her wine glass still full, and the note in the drawer that simply said, "You brought me there to watch you glow. Now you can watch me disappear." I didn't sleep. I just lay on the stiff couch of an old college friend's guest room, staring at the cracked ceiling, hearing every creak of the pipes and hum of the radiator like it was mocking me. I wasn't crying anymore. That part was over. What replaced it was worse, a quiet, eerie clarity. The kind that doesn't shout or beg or shake. It just waits. The next morning, my phone lit up like a fire alarm. First, one missed call from her. Then 3. Then 12. A series of texts, each colder and more impatient than the last. Not one of them said she was sorry. Not one even asked if I was okay. They just said things like, "Where are you? Can you stop being dramatic? We need to talk." She didn't know I'd already read her truth. She didn't know I'd seen the photo in the elevator, the hand around her like she belonged to someone else. I wasn't waiting for her to confess. I already had the confession, frozen in pixels, captured in a reflection she didn't think anyone would notice. I turned my phone off, let her scream into the void. Around 10 a.m., my friend Colin, bless his awkward, nerdy soul, knocked once and then just stood at the door holding 2 cups of coffee and a leftover cinnamon roll from a gas station. I didn't even have to explain. He just said, "You staying a while?" I nodded. Maybe a few days. He didn't ask more. He didn't need to. That afternoon, I logged into our shared cloud storage. Something she probably forgot we even had. Most couples use it to back up pictures from trips or recipes or whatever. But she had autosync on her phone camera. It was a feature I set up myself when we first moved in, so we wouldn't lose anything important. Funny how useful it became now. There were dozens of new uploads. Screenshots of long conversations with him. Voice notes she sent when I was supposedly out buying groceries. A slow archive of emotional erosion, saved file by file. One video nearly broke me. Her, whispering into her phone in our bedroom, laughing, saying, "He still has no clue. I could be out all night and he'd believe I was at a yoga class." That was recorded 3 weeks ago. The night I stayed up making her stupid lemon chicken soup because she said she was too sore to cook. I almost deleted everything. Almost shut the laptop and let it all rot. But then I got an idea. Not revenge, not yet. That would be too easy. What I wanted was exposure. Not just for her, but for him too. The man in the reflection. The man she thought she could protect by erasing me in public. So I gathered it all. Carefully. Quietly. Every file. Every photo. Every voice message and timestamp. I labeled them. I even organized them by date. Because when the moment came, when she tried to spin her story or downplay the damage, I wasn't going to yell. I was just going to show. And the timing of that moment? Let's just say, she gave it to me on a silver platter. She showed up at Colin's door before noon the next day. No warning, no text, just the knock. A sharp, aggressive knock. The kind that says, "I'm not here to talk. I'm here to be right." I froze. My heart kicked once hard. Colin looked at me like, "Do you want me to answer it, or should I throw her off the balcony?" We didn't speak. We didn't have to. He stepped outside and pulled the door halfway shut behind him. I couldn't hear every word. But her voice carries when she's angry. It always has. I heard her say, "He's being immature, and this is all a huge overreaction." And then finally, "He needs to come home and grow up." Grow up. After what I'd seen. After what she'd done. Colin didn't let her in. He came back inside, handed me a bottle of water like I'd just finished running a marathon, and said, "You good?" I wasn't, but I nodded anyway. She called again that night. Left a voicemail that sounded so artificially calm it made my skin crawl. She said, "I know things have felt off, but I think we just lost our rhythm. You always overthink things when you're tired. Let's reset. I love you." I almost laughed. She used to say, "I love you," like it meant something. Now it just sounded like she was repeating a spell that had stopped working. But I wasn't just sitting around. I'd been busy. I tracked down the guy from the party. The one from the photo. Brett. That's his real name. I finally confirmed it. He wasn't just some random coworker. He was her direct manager. Married. 2 kids. Happy family social media profile with beach pictures and cringy holiday sweaters. A man living 2 lives so sloppily, it's almost like he wanted to get caught. And Clarissa? Yeah, I'll say her name now. She had left digital footprints in every direction. DMs, calendar events, rideshare receipts. I even found a hotel reservation under her maiden name, billed to our joint credit card. You can't make this stuff up. She wasn't careful. She was confident I'd never look. But I wasn't going to scream or confront or play the wounded husband scene. No, I was going to do what she hated most. I was going to make her guess. So I texted her one sentence. "Got your message. I think we do need to reset." She replied in under 60 seconds. "Thank you. I'm so glad you're thinking clearly." I'll make dinner tomorrow. I said, perfect. I'll bring dessert. And she had no idea that dessert came with a flash drive. She lit candles. That's what struck me first. I walked in and the apartment smelled like lavender and rosemary. Some overpriced candle she once said reminded her of Italy, even though she's never been. The lights were dimmed. There was soft music playing. She was trying, not to fix things, but to frame them, control the scene, set the tone. She even put on the gold necklace I bought her last Christmas, the one she hadn't worn in months. She hugged me like nothing had happened, said, "You look tired," and kissed my cheek like she thought I'd be grateful for crumbs. Dinner was salmon and wild rice. One of her go-to, I'm pretending I'm a good wife again meals. She talked about work. Not once did she mention the party. Not once did she ask where I'd been, or what I'd seen, or why I'd left. She was sticking to the script, hoping the performance would carry her to safety. But I wasn't playing my old role anymore. I smiled, nodded, ate a few bites, told her it was great. Then I reached into my coat and slid a small white pastry box across the table toward her. Dessert, I said. She opened it. Inside was a slice of chocolate raspberry torte from the bakery she used to love, back when we still laughed together. Sitting on top of the box was a folded piece of paper. Nothing fancy, just a note. Her smile flickered. She looked at me, trying to read my face. But I gave her nothing. She unfolded the paper. It said, "Before you take a bite, watch this." Below that was a QR code. Her hands trembled just slightly, enough for me to see it, but not enough for her to admit it. She pulled out her phone, scanned. The screen loaded a private video link. I watched her eyes shift as the preview loaded. The image of her and Brett, blurry but unmistakable, in the elevator mirror. His hand, her smirk, the timestamp, the betrayal captured like a still life. I didn't speak. I let the silence become a scream. She didn't even press play. Her face went pale, like something in her had gone cold. She looked up at me, mouth slightly open, searching for a script she hadn't prepared. I finally spoke. "You invited me to that party to humiliate me, but I'm giving you a chance. One time, tell me the truth." She blinked. Once, twice. Then she said the one thing I didn't expect. "I think we should take some time apart." And just like that, she tried to flip the table, tried to make this my fault, as if I'd shown her something that hurt her. She stood, walked to the sink, turned her back to me like I didn't deserve her full attention anymore. I stood up, walked to the door, and right before I left, I turned and said, "You might want to check the folder called Shared Memories in our cloud. It's not just pictures of Italy in there anymore." Then I closed the door. Gently. Behind me, I heard her gasp. She called that night. 7 times. The first one I ignored. The second I watched ring out just to hear the silence that followed. By the third, she started leaving voicemails. Each one was a different version of her. The apologetic wife, the confused victim, the cold strategist. "We need to talk. You're blowing this out of proportion. Can we be adults about this?" And finally, just her voice cracking, whispering, "Please call me back." I didn't. Because by then, the files were already shared. Not online. No, that would have been too messy, too reactive. I wasn't out for revenge. I wanted accountability. So I sent a clean, private email. No insults. No dramatics. Just facts. Dates. Timestamps. Attachments. One email to Brett's wife. One to HR at their firm. And one, my favorite, to Brett himself, with nothing but the subject line, "You should have looked at the camera." That morning, I drove out of the city. Somewhere quiet. Just trees and cold air and time to think. I sat in a diner booth with watery coffee and a half-eaten muffin, watching my phone light up with chaos. New emails. Notifications from shared accounts. Bank activity. She was scrambling. When I finally opened our cloud folder again, it had been renamed. The title was now, "Please Don't." Inside, she had deleted every file she could. But she didn't know I already had copies, not just backed up, but time-stamped, archived, immutable. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. 2 hours later, I got a message from Brett's wife. 4 words. "Thank you. I know now." I stared at the screen until the waitress asked if I wanted more coffee. I said no. What I wanted was quiet. And that's exactly what I got, because the next time Clarissa called, it didn't ring. It went straight to voicemail. She'd been blocked. And then, the unexpected happened. Colin texted me, "You need to see this. Check the company page. Now." I opened their firm's website, expecting nothing, but there it was. An official statement. Corporate speak, sterile and distant, but clear enough to decode. We are currently reviewing a breach of conduct involving 2 employees in management roles. Both individuals have been placed on immediate leave pending further internal investigation. She was suspended, not just embarrassed, not just scolded, removed. The same woman who once told me they'd never believe someone like you over someone like me had been publicly silenced by the very company she used to brag about at dinner parties. And still, through all of this, I hadn't said a word to her. No yelling, no dramatic confrontation, just the truth, served cold and undeniable. I didn't expect her to show up at Colin's place again, but she did, not with fury this time, not dressed up, not trying to act put together. No, this time she looked wrecked, hair tied back in the kind of messy bun she used to say she hated. No makeup, puffy eyes, hoodie that wasn't even hers. She looked like someone who hadn't slept in days. Maybe she hadn't. Colin opened the door and just stared at her, then turned back toward me in the hallway and said, "You want to deal with this?" I did, but not the way she wanted me to. When she saw me, her whole face shifted, not into a smile, not into anger, just panic. Like she knew the mask had finally slipped too far and there was no putting it back on. She started with, "I just need to talk to you," but I stayed silent. She filled the space like she always does, with fast words, jumping thoughts, desperate half-truths. She told me it was all confusing, that Brett misread everything, that it was never emotional, just a stupid mistake, and then pivoted hard into blame. Said she felt ignored at home. Said I hadn't been present for months. That I was cold. I waited until she was out of breath, and then finally asked, "So you brought me to that party, why?" Her voice cracked. "I thought if you saw me in that world, maybe you'd respect me more." It was such a strange, backwards thing to say. Respect her more? After she dragged me to a party, ignored me, flirted with her boss like I didn't exist, then texted me to come, like I was a lost dog? I took a deep breath and said it slowly. "I didn't stop respecting you because of your job, Clarissa. I stopped respecting you when you decided humiliating me in front of your colleagues was easier than just being honest." She broke then. Fully. The tears came, heavy and ugly. She sat down on the edge of the entryway rug and just cried into her hands like the floor might forgive her if she collapsed far enough into it. I stood there and watched her cry. No satisfaction. No revenge glow. Just exhaustion. I'd spent months confused, doubting myself, wondering if I was imagining the distance. But now, watching her unravel, I realized I hadn't been crazy. I'd just been gaslit. Repeatedly. Subtly. Completely. She begged. Actually begged. Said we could rebuild. Said she was willing to go to counseling. Said she'd do anything. I told her I already had an appointment. Not for therapy. For a divorce consultation. She froze. And for the first time in the entire relationship, I saw what she looked like when she wasn't in control. No script. No rehearsed line. Just a woman watching the last piece of her little empire crumble. Before she left, she asked me one more thing. "Did you send the video to anyone else?" I didn't answer. She nodded, like she already knew. And then she left without saying goodbye. The divorce consultation took place in a small office above a dentist's clinic. The lawyer was a calm older woman named Nadine who didn't ask questions she didn't need answers to. She looked at the folder of evidence I handed her, nodded once, and said, "This won't be complicated. We'll move quickly." There was something oddly peaceful about it. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't shaking. I wasn't running through imaginary arguments in my head trying to figure out how I could have made her stay or what I did wrong to push her away. I just felt done. Clarissa sent one last email the night the papers were filed. No dramatic declarations. Just 5 words. "I hope you find peace." No apology. No ownership. But I wasn't surprised. Her silence said more than her tears ever could. She moved out 2 days later. Left behind a drawer full of tangled earrings, half-used makeup in the bathroom cabinet, and a pile of sweaters that still smelled like her expensive perfume. I boxed everything up, taped it shut, and dropped it off with her name on the label. I didn't include a note. It's strange how quiet a place can feel once the wrong energy is gone. That weekend, I turned on music again, cleaned the whole apartment, changed the bedding. I even opened the windows, even though it was still cold outside. I needed the air to shift, and it did. Colin came by with 2 6-packs and a frozen pizza. No pep talks. No advice. Just presents. We played cards like we used to back in college. For the first time in months, I laughed. Like, actually laughed. Not the forced kind I used to give Clarissa when I could feel her growing colder by the day. And then came something I never expected. 2 weeks later, I got a handwritten letter in the mail. From Brett's wife. She didn't rant. She didn't blame me. She just said, "Thank you for giving me the truth. It hurt like hell, but I needed it." She said she'd left him. Said she was starting over with her 2 boys in a place where they could breathe again. I folded the letter and kept it in my desk drawer. Not because I needed a reminder of what happened, but because it reminded me that telling the truth quietly still matters. That silence can be louder than rage when you wield it with purpose. As for me, I took some time off. Traveled to a quiet cabin up north. I read, slept in, watched the snow fall through a tall pine window, and didn't check my phone once. I even met someone, not in the romantic way, not yet. Just a kind person at a bookstore who smiled like they meant it and asked me about the dog-eared sci-fi novel I was holding. Maybe it's nothing. Maybe it's everything. But for the first time in years, I wasn't trying to keep something broken from falling apart. I was just living, breathing, whole again. No more full wine glasses left untouched on tables. No more being invisible. Just me, not perfect, not fixed, but free.